Well, welcome everyone. I'm Gina Barrett, a program director at the Consortium for Public Education. I know that I know some of you, but not everyone. Hopefully I'll know all of you in the future. But we are happy that you're here today. We are here with Allen Norton, and he's the workforce executive at the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry. And a few days ago, he actually made a presentation like this to some of our students, maybe even some students in your district. And it was really great, well received, so much information, a lot of great resources that he shares. So right now I am going to turn it over to him. Just please remember, if you have a question, there'll be a question and answer session at the end, or you're welcome to drop it in a chat and we will address it at the end as well. So Allen, thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Barrett, for inviting me in again today. I'm glad we were able to make a connection a few months ago when I presented for the statewide coalition. Appreciate your support. And thank you, educators, for all of the hard work you're doing, not just in the role you have, but in the current situation in the role you have. And thank you for attending and listening to what I have to provide you today. So my name is Allen Norton. I am the Workforce Development Executive with the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry. We actually started our workforce program with our foundation 4 years ago. I've been with the Chamber 2 years. Prior to this, I worked in admissions at the local community college for 7 years, and then at a tech school for 5 years before that. So I've been in the workforce world for quite a few years. And what I'm here to talk to you about today is not just the in-demand careers for students across Pennsylvania as we go through our fourth industrial revolution and how the market has changed for jobs, but also share some tools and resources we've created that your students can have access to for free on our Start the Conversation Here website. And hopefully after seeing some of these tools today, you'll go back and share them with your students and other educators to spread the word. So really quickly, before I get started on the presentation, I want to share with you just a few of the members who our messaging is coming from today. We have about 9,500 businesses across the state we represent here at the State Chamber. And so this is just a snapshot of some of our investor level members. So you can kind of get an idea of who some of the businesses are across the state that we're working with on this workforce initiative. Many Western PA as well on here, you'll see. And as we near the end of this, I'll kind of give you my quick elevator speech on PA. And one of the reasons I'm passionate about this is because I was a young man, grew up here in Pennsylvania near Hershey, actually. I'm here in Harrisburg now. And I grew up truly believing that if I was going to make something of myself, I had to get out of Pennsylvania. I did not realize the opportunity that exists here in PA. So my elevator speech about PA goes like this. PA has about 13 million residents. We are the #2 natural gas producer in the country. We rank 8th in manufacturing, so a ton of manufacturing jobs. Down in the Southeast in the Philadelphia area is the 6th largest media market in the entire country. And out where you guys are in Western PA is the Tech and Biotech Center of the state, and actually starting to become the Tech and Biotech Center of America, as you'll see in a little while. And in Eastern PA, we've got down near Philly what I call the Eds and Meds Center of the state. Huge education sector and a huge healthcare and pharmaceutical sector. And we really do have a diverse economy, as you can see from the list of members: education, manufacturing, construction, financial services, waste services, engineering services, just so much to offer here in Pennsylvania, and so much opportunity. And so hopefully after today, you'll go back to your students and colleagues with some more information about what PA has to offer. So why we're the state's largest broad-based business advocacy organization. So we're the largest business lobbying firm basically in the state at the Capitol. And so you might be asking yourself, sometimes people ask, why are we involved in workforce? That's become our #1 advocacy effort, because back in 2016, when we started our workforce initiative, workforce was just starting to show up in surveys as an issue for businesses in PA. And every year for the past 40 years, we've done an economic survey of businesses to kind of get a feel for how do you like doing business in PA, what scares you about doing business in PA, what keeps you up at night doing business in PA, because we're competing with 49 other states to have businesses locate here and stay here. Well, in 2018, for the first time ever in 40 years of surveying, the shortage of skilled workers was the #1 issue affecting businesses in Pennsylvania. And it's not just a Pennsylvania issue, it's actually happening nationwide. We've heard of the skills gap. We also call it an opportunity gap. In 2019, it remained #1, but climbed 14% as an issue. And what's interesting is, if you think about the history of our country for the past 50 or so years, we've been sending a record number of students to college, which the world I grew up in, and probably many of you, it was very rare when I was a child that someone asked what I wanted to do for a career or what I wanted to do for a living. Usually it was, where are you going to go to college? What college are you going to? Because the world I grew up in, you went from high school to college, and then you went into the workforce. And some people had an idea of what they wanted to do, but for the most part, it was a focus on, where are you going to college? And we deemed those kids who were going off to college the successful ones. But what we neglected to do was paying attention to what happened after they went to college. And that's one of many reasons why we're kind of where we are today with the skills gap and the opportunity gap. So at the same time, what's promising, I always like to look for the silver lining and the things to be optimistic about. This is right there where you guys are in Pittsburgh and around Pittsburgh. So back in July, this article printed, from May to June, right at the height of the pandemic, Pittsburgh became the #1 city in America for tech job postings. More tech job openings in Pittsburgh than anywhere else in the country. We knew this would eventually happen. We didn't think it would be during a pandemic. So that's very exciting that there's all this opportunity there for your students to walk into these jobs and hopefully keep their skills here in PA. And that's part of my mission, is to help grow awareness of what the amazing career opportunities are across the state, and hopefully keep those skills here in PA when students graduate, so that we can fill the workforce that needs that we have here. To help, we created a website to start the conversation here. Actually, in the next school year, it is going to look completely different. I have amazing plans for next year, because we've been starting the conversation for 4 years now, almost 5. It's time for a change. But some of the tools that we've created are there to really help your students understand how their college and career choices will impact their financial future, increase awareness of what the growing trends are for employment. As I mentioned, we're going through an industrial revolution. So the jobs that exist today didn't exist. Some of them didn't exist 10 years ago. Certainly didn't exist 20, 25 years ago. And counter some of those misconceptions about how you get into a good job. It's not necessarily college. We do need people who go to college. There are still those jobs, but we have a lot of pathways into good careers now, and we want to showcase those to our students. At the same time, back in 2016, when we launched this, our foundation partnered with the MicroWorks Foundation so that we could raise awareness around the growing demand for folks in the skilled trades. There's a retirement boom happening, and there's a huge need for folks with hands-on skills to fill the workplace. Actually, in the 5 years that we've had that partnership, or nearly 5 years, we've raised and provided nearly $275,000 in work ethic scholarships to 112 PA students. So if you have any seniors who are thinking about going to like a Penn College or a Rosedale Tech or maybe CCAC for a trade program, they can apply for the scholarship. The scholarship typically opens in mid-January at microworks.org, and they can apply through the end of March. And then we do all of the scholarship reviews for the PA folks. And those awards are announced in early June. So this is a great opportunity for students to get some money to help them pay for school and get into an in-demand career. And part of the goal is to keep the skills here in PA, as I mentioned earlier. The two qualifiers are, you have to be a PA student and you have to be attending a PA school. We won't give you the scholarship if you're going out of state. We just actually announced also last month a new scholarship opportunity with our foundation that one of our environmental services members set up. This is an environmental science and environmental engineering scholarship for PA and New Jersey students, since that's where they do business. So applications I actually have are a fillable PDF that we created with the company. So if you have any interested students, please have them email me. My email's at the bottom of this flyer here, and I can get them a scholarship app, or email me yourself and I'll send you the flyer and the application as well. I've actually already started receiving applications for this, so I'm pretty excited that we just announced this a month ago and already are getting such a great response. So how do we help our students make wise post-secondary decisions that will get them into a career path, but not end them up in a hole where they can't move out of their parents' house till they're 40? First, we have to arm them with the facts and then make sure they know the tools and resources we have available. So here are some of the facts. I mentioned earlier about how we're sending so many students to college. And when I was a kid, that was the gold star. That was the sign of success. You're going to college. But what we neglect to do is pay attention to what happens once they're in college. I used to joke, I used to actually believe when I worked at the community college, what we should track isn't how many students go to college. What we should track is 4 years later, how many of them graduated from college. Because when you look at the numbers, the statistics are kind of low. Only 41% of first-time college students actually are earning their degree in 4 years. That's less than half. And just a little more than half actually graduate, and they're taking 6 years. So not only is it taking longer for them to enter the workforce, they're spending more money to do it, because each year they're there, that's more money adding up in tuition and room and board costs and living expenses. So for every 100 students we send to university, 59 actually make it to graduation. 41 drop out somewhere along the way, get stuck with some of the debt, but not the degree. Also, it's really important that they understand majors matter. I mentioned earlier, when I was a kid, the conversation was, where are you going to go to college? Where are you going to go to college? Go to college, you'll figure it out. Nowadays, the reason you hear so much about STEM and STEAM is because majors really do matter. 43% of those who make it to graduation are currently what we call underemployed, meaning they're working in a career or a job they didn't need their degree for. The majority of them are actually working in a job they could have started right out of high school. And the trend is lowest among those STEM and STEAM majors. We need engineers, we need computer science majors, we need math majors, physical and health science majors, education majors. But the days of just saying, go to college, you'll figure it out, are over. Now we need to ask students, what do you want to do for a career and how do you get there? And then help them find the pathway to get there. If it's college, great. What's a college you can afford to go to that will get you there? If it's not college, okay, awesome. What's the opportunity in the pathways? An apprenticeship? Is it career college? Is it community college? Is it a credential? There's a lot of different pathways to help students get to their goal. So when you look at these two statistics combined, basically what it means is for every 100 students we send to college, 59 graduate. Of the 59 who graduate, about 34 go on to use their degree. 25 end up working in a job they could have gone into right out of high school without the degree and the debt, and 41 drop out. So we could do a lot better, and that's part of my goal here in the state is to get better decisions made so our kids end up in good jobs and without all that debt. So we created a tool to help students understand how to make wise post-secondary decisions. It's called the Career Calculator, and part of it is getting students to think about college and career choices as a business decision. When you learn about supply and demand, or when we teach kids about supply and demand, often it's in its relation to wages or in relation to prices. If there's a demand for a product, but a lack of supply of that product, prices go up. If there's a high supply of a product, but a low demand, prices go down. Well, the same thing happens with wages. If there's a whole bunch of people out there in the workforce with the same skill, but not a lot of demand for that skill, wages go down. If there's a huge demand for a certain skill, but not a lot of folks with that skill, wages go up. And there are a lot of career paths right now that only require a credential or an associate's degree that are paying significantly more than the average salary for a first-time four-year college graduate. And a lot of those in-demand skills are skills you can apply for our scholarships for. The other term is ROI, or return on investment. Many of the students walk Shark Tank. And what I like students to understand is, you know, Mark Cuban's a billionaire because he doesn't give people money. He invests. If someone comes on to Shark Tank with a business idea and he says, that's a great idea, I can see investing in that. I'll give you that $250,000 you need to get to the next level. He's not giving them $250,000. We know if he was doing that, he wouldn't be a billionaire. He's seeing that, okay, in X number of years, I'll earn this $250,000 back. And from that point forward, everything I make from your money, from your business is profit. Well, it's the same thing with our education. We want to make sure that whatever a student invests in their education, they can earn that investment back as quickly as possible so that their life is profitable. And so to help students understand that return on investment in supply and demand, we created a career calculator. That's the newest tool on our Start the Conversation Here page. I'm going to take you there now to show you. I'm really excited to share this with you. So when you go to Start the Conversation Here, into the menu, there's a lot of options, but I'm going to go to Career Calculator first, and then there's a couple other sources on there I'll show you. But the way this works, from the drop down for careers, students can choose any number of careers. The information is pulled from ONET, and what it's going to show them is the average entry-level salary, not the average salary, entry-level salary. So they get an idea of what they can expect to make when they first graduate. There were two consistent themes when I first started this role almost 2 years ago and went around and met with as many businesses as I could around the state. Matter of fact, one of the things I miss so much right now during COVID, I was out in Western PA multiple times last year at this time. And I really miss coming out and visiting you guys. You guys have a beautiful area of the state out there. I love the weather you guys have. We actually have about 10 inches of snow here in Harrisburg. It's the first time we've gotten this much snow in December since I think I was 5 back in 1978. So we're excited to finally have some of that Western PA style snow here. But we chose entry-level salary because the other thing, the two things I hear from businesses are, A, students don't have an idea of what entry-level salaries are. They don't understand when they come into, you know, if I'm a recent graduate, when I go into a job interview, they don't understand why the salary isn't what they saw on Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is an average salary. You know, that's someone who's been in the field for a few years. The other thing I hear is, I don't care where they went to college, what name of the college. I care what skills they have. How are they going to help my business be productive and be profitable? And so, you know, there's still this myth out there. I actually presented for a group of students in Philly a few weeks ago. And at the end, one of the girls said, so I really don't have to go to the most expensive, most prestigious college. No. If your goal is to be a school teacher, the starting salary for a school teacher is what it is. You don't get a raise on the entry-level salary simply because you went to a more expensive, more prestigious college. The starting salary is what it is, no matter what the career is. So when they go in here, they'll get an idea of what an entry-level salary is for that role. We're the PA chamber. So all of these schools are schools in Pennsylvania. And what's going to post is just the tuition. We did make the tuition amount flexible because we realized students are going to get scholarships or grants, so they can deduct that amount from here. Some students will live on campus, so they can add that room and board cost in here, which of course is going to drive that up a little bit, and then they can choose how long their program is. So I actually have a couple canned, prepared examples I'm going to use, but hopefully you'll go back, share this with your students and play around with it. And as I go through some of these examples, I want to overcome some myths and share some facts. So the first fact is about healthcare. Huge demand for healthcare, and this is where supply and demand really comes into play. So right now, what this bold print means is, if you look at all of the health career job openings in America right now, and you look at all the folks in the pipeline at college, community college, university, CTE programs, there's still 1.2 million job openings more than there are people in the pipeline training for a health career. And that's all health career jobs. So when you think about supply and demand, the demand outweighs the supply, and boy, are wages skyrocketing. Here in Harrisburg, 5 years ago when I worked at community college, and we have a really popular RN program at the community college locally. When students would ask, what can I expect to make when I first start as an RN? Here in this area 5 years ago, I would have told you about 45 to 50 grand a year. Now you cannot find an RN position that starts at less than $65,000 a year in Harrisburg. So in 5 years' time, you've seen $15,000 to $20,000 a year increase in starting salaries for that job because of supply and demand. So Mackenzie is a young lady who, actually I'm friends with her father. She came to HAC for our medical sonography program. And for you guys who don't know, medical sonography is ultrasound. So they do occasionally look at babies, but mostly what she does is she looks at what's not supposed to be in your body. If you have a tumor or some sort of growth and you go to the hospital, they're going to send you to a sonographer who's going to use the machine to figure out what is that in there, how big is it, and then of course give it to the doctor so they can tell you. So she's a medical sonographer. You could see there when I plug it in, salaries right now for medical sonographers are about $53,000 a year. Now out where you guys are, you guys have CCAC. We love our friends at CCAC. They're actually a member of the chamber, and it's just a 2-year program. So when I calculate this, what it's going to show me is her return on investment in her first year, her investment in tuition. So you can see there's this huge return on this little investment. If she borrowed all of the money she needed to go to school at CCAC for 2 years, here's the interest and here's the total loan amount. So assuming she borrowed it, this is her total investment and this is her first year return on investment. So she only has to work about 4 months in the field before she makes back that $11,640 that her education cost her. From that point forward, 4 months on, she's earning profit. She's earned back her educational investment. Scroll down a little more, you get a little more details. If she borrowed all of that money to go to school, only 3% of her income is going to go towards her student loan. Her loan is going to be $97 a month. She still has almost $3,300 left at the end of the month to play with. This is a young lady who, A, could move out of her house at 20, 21 years old very comfortably. B, can make 3 times the loan payment and pay that loan off in like 3 or 4 years rather than 10 years and still live a comfortable life. Now, just to give you an example, if I were to choose an inexpensive 4-year school, let's see what that does to my return on investment. Now, here in Central PA, we have Shippensburg, which is a state school, very inexpensive state school, great state school. They're doing some really good work. They're a member of the chamber as well. Now let's add in the room and board. I have a friend who's some friends who work there. So I know with room and board, it's $25,000 a year. Now, by adding that additional cost each year and 2 more years, look what happened. Now the investment return for the first year is smaller than the total investment. Now I've got to work 2 years to earn back $124,000 rather than 4 months to earn back $12,000. Now, this still isn't too bad. I've still got about $2,300 left at the end of each month, but now my student loan's $1,000 a month instead of $97 a month. Now 31% of my income is going towards student loans. So this is just to give you a snapshot. And then if I choose a really expensive college, you know, and let's not even add in the room and board, let's just do tuition. Now you got to work 5 years to earn back $305,000. You know, that's 3 of my houses right there. And now my student loan is way more than what I have left at the end of each month. So this is really just, again, designed to get it in front of parents and students so they can see, wow, the financial implications really are huge based on what I do. And like I mentioned earlier, as I go around and talk to businesses, it's not the name of the college that matters. It's what can you do? What skills do you have? Now, health career isn't for everybody, but we do have a huge demand for RNs. Just to give you some ideas, PA in the next 8 years needs 19,000 new, not replacement, new nurses just to keep pace with demand. Of all the careers that require an associate's degree in PA, the most in demand is dental hygienist. Average salaries, not average starting salaries, but average salaries in PA for dental hygienists right now is about $67,000 a year. They start out kind of at the same salary as a medical sonography. And then I like to highlight those two because they're also different work-life balances. One things I like students to understand is, nurses work at hospitals. Hospitals are 24/7, 365. Dental hygienists work at dentist offices, which typically dentist offices are open 8 to 5, Monday through Thursday. So you got your 3-day weekend, you got your holidays off, you got your evenings off. My mom was a nurse, retired 5 or 6 years ago. Every other year she worked on Christmas. In the alternate years, she worked on Thanksgiving. She worked overnights most of the time. But there were some times she worked day shifts. She very rarely had weekends off. So getting students to think about those aspects as well. Now, health career isn't for everybody. I would make an awful nurse. I always tell people I'm a sympathetic vomiter. Can't be that when you're a nurser. So let's talk about some of the other in-demand STEM careers. One of the things that I learned about when I started working at HAC a few years ago, the community college, was there's this really in-demand career, not just in PA, but across the country, called Mechatronics. So actually it was about 9 years ago now I started working at HAC. To this day, 9 years later, as in demand as Mechatronics is, when I go into a classroom and ask kids if they've ever heard of this, it's very rare that 1 or 2 kids raise their hand, but occasionally 1 or 2 do. And so that's part of why we have a skills gap. There's this lack of knowledge of what the jobs are, but there's this huge opening in these areas. So what's Mechatronics? Mechatronics is basically a mechanical job, but instead of working on cars like auto mechanics do, they're working on all the automation and robotic and computer systems that keep our industry moving. And again, I have another bold point here to overcome a myth. I stopped watching the news and reading articles on the coming automation because they all lie. Yes, robots, as with every past industrial revolution, will eliminate some entry-level, low-wage jobs. But as with every past industrial revolution, they're going to create almost twice as many new jobs. So as you can see here, robots are they already started and will continue to, for the next year or so, eliminate about 75 million entry-level, low-wage jobs. But they're going to create, and have already started creating, almost twice as many new middle-skill technical jobs, the bulk of which require a credential or an associate's degree. So now I'm going to tell you a story about Jess, and I like highlighting Jess's story because this is something we're really pushing for at the chamber, and I'm happy to see our business community in the state pushing for this too. We need more women in technical jobs. We need more folks who don't look like me in technical jobs. That's the only way we're going to fill all these jobs, but it's also the right thing to do. So Jess went to school for mechatronics. She was actually a student of mine at HAC. And before I show you her story on the career calculator, I want to tell you why I like telling her story. She came back all excited when she got her job offer. She works for one of the snack food companies just south of me in York. The HR manager, when they hired her, said, because you don't have any real world experience yet, you just have your associate's degree, we can only offer you $24 an hour. Only $24 an hour. That's a starting salary for someone with a 2-year degree because, again, wage is in high demand job. She has a skill that not only do not a lot of people have, not a lot of people know about. So $24 an hour is the starting salary. If she works weekends, there's overtime. Saturday, she gets time and a half. Sunday, she gets double time. How many of you have students who you think would give up a Sunday NFL game to go make $48 an hour? Many of the folks who work in this industry, even though the starting salary is about $54,000 a year with the overtime, are making 6 figures their first year out. Because again, there's a lack of workers with these skills. So huge opportunity for overtime to make that extra money. So let's look at Jess's situation on the career calculator. It's going to be very similar to Mackenzie's, but look at what happens. All right, so look at that starting salary for medical sonographer. Now, what happens to that starting salary when I changed mechatronics engineer? It went up by almost $1,000 a year. And again, this is something you can do either by apprenticeship or by going to your local community college or tech school and training for it. And this is a program that qualifies for the MicroWorks scholarship as well. So let's choose Hack This. Actually, you know what? Out where you guys are, you have Beaver County Community College too. So let's try CCBC this time. It's a 2-year program. And when we calculate this, again, she has to work about 5 months to earn back that educational investment. And from that point forward, everything she makes is profit because she's earned her educational investment back. student loan, 5% of her income, still has $3,300 left at the end of the month. Just like Mackenzie, if she doubles or triples that payment, she'll pay it off in 3 to 5 years, be out of debt. And even with doing that, can still move out of her parents' house comfortably at 20 or 21 years old. And as I mentioned, I actually know I've kept in touch with Jess. She darn near made 6 figures her first year because she was working so much overtime. You know, and she graduated 2 to 4 years before her peers that went off to university. So one of the things I like to get kids and students and educators thinking about is, you know, she went to school at 18, graduated at 20, started making money right away. At 20 years old, while she was making money, many of her friends were still in college for 2 to 4 more years, spending half of each year what she was making, spending half of what she was making each year, still to get to that end point. And the average starting salary, the last time I checked about a year ago, for someone with a bachelor's degree in Pennsylvania is about $19 an hour. So she was coming out 2 years sooner, making $5 an hour more as a starting salary. So again, Mechatronics qualifies for the micro scholarship. Any construction trade, truck driving, HVAC mechanical, there's a lot of pathways. You've probably heard a lot about apprenticeship. We have a lot of members in Western PA in manufacturing that are doing great work in apprenticeship or are partnering with schools like CCAC, Penn College of Technology to just onboard their graduates. I visited a tech school in Philadelphia last year that has just 5 programs in trades, and they're all 2-year programs. They do a job fair at the end of freshman year for their students, and all of their students leave that job fair with job offers. So they go into their second and final year of training knowing that there's a job waiting for them as soon as they graduate. One of the gentlemen who gave me the tour told me that whenever they get calls from companies looking for graduates, he has to tell them, look, if you didn't already hire them by the time they got to their second year, you're not getting any of our graduates, because that's how much demand there is for these folks. So now I highlight these schools because they're all members of the chamber. So of course I have to give shout out to them. But again, I don't want you to think I'm being anti-4-year school. We still have about 35% of the jobs in America that require a 4-year degree or more. We have a huge need for engineers, a huge need for computer scientists, huge need for teachers. But again, the career calculator was designed to help students make good post-secondary decisions. So they're going to a school that they can afford, and that will help them reach their return on investment in a way that they can live a good life, move out of the parents' house at a young age, and start being a good part of the economy. I always like to highlight Harrisburg University because I like to say their education the way it should work in the 21st century. They don't offer any programs that don't lead to jobs. If you do a program there, it leads right to a workforce in-demand technical job. And they have a lot of programs for high school students. Many of you may already be working with them. Actually, my colleague there, who I do the most work with, manages a lot of the high school programs. We helped him launch some credentialing programs at high schools in inner city Philadelphia related to coding and related to drone piloting. He came back to tell me a story about one of his students who is there now in a bachelor's degree program, but did this credential while he was in high school to be a drone pilot. During the summer, between his freshman and sophomore year, this kid made $30,000 during the summer in 3 months. I didn't even make $30,000 a year my first year out of college, simply because he used his drone pilot license and marketed his skills. He was contracting with real estate companies to do drone videos of houses and commercial real estate that they were selling. And so he was able to use that pilot license to make a substantial amount of money during his summer break, doing something he enjoyed and building his skill set. So again, like I mentioned earlier, if you have students who are interested in a career path that does require a bachelor's degree or more, we've got a great selection of colleges here in PA. We hope they choose to stay here in PA and attend one of our academic schools in PA. And then also when they graduate, that provides a better chance of them staying here in PA to fill the jobs we have right here in the state. So hopefully this helped you with helping your students make some good career decisions. There's just a couple other tools and resources on the webpage I want to share with you. The occupations page we update every summer with labor and industry based on what's the most in-demand occupations in the state for the next year. So if students go here, they can see right now we have it organized by demand. So the top 4 most in-demand careers in Pennsylvania right now are all health careers. Number 5 is coding, and number 6 is truck driving. So they can scroll through and see what are the most in-demand careers and how do I get there. So if someone wanted to be a high school teacher, they could click on this and they could see here in Pennsylvania in the next 7 to 8 years, we need about 3,000 or 4,000 new teachers, high school teachers. That's Pennsylvania. And of course, you need a bachelor's degree and sample job titles. So if they want to go on Indeed and see what teaching jobs are out there and what kind of duties they have each day and what skills you need to be successful in that career. And then my favorite part, average wages in PA. Now in the career calculator, that average entry-level wage is a national entry-level wage. But here we broke it down specific to PA. So you can see the average entry-level salary, the average salary, and then the average experience salary. So this gives the students an idea of what their career trajectory will look like. The last thing I want to talk about with careers, and this is a good point to talk about it. I like students to think about a career path isn't an endpoint. It's a journey. You know, how many of us on this call had a career path that went like this? Some of you that are in education, maybe you've gotten into education early, maybe you came in later in life. Many folks get into teaching and then pursue a pathway towards becoming a principal or one of those administrative roles. So it's a pathway. You know, if you want to be a nurse, great, nursing is in demand. But then once you get there, maybe you want to become a nurse anesthetist, a nurse practitioner, director of nursing. But there's companies out there that will invest in you to get you to that next point. And I mentioned nursing because whether you go to a community college and get your RN or to a 4-year school and get your bachelor's degree, the hospitals will hire you and they'll start you at about the same salary. Now, if you only have that associate's degree, they're going to require you to get the bachelor's degree in a certain amount of time. But at that point, because you're working for them, now they're going to pay for 75% of it. So the student who got the associate's degree is still going to get to the bachelor's degree, but they're going to do it for a lot less because the company's going to invest in that. And then now they've got the bachelor's degree. Okay, I want to become a nurse practitioner. I want to become a nurse anesthetist. I want to become a director of nursing. Now it's time to go get a master's. Well, guess what? The hospital is going to pay for 75% of that. And then even though with that investment, the hospital is going to say, okay, you have to commit to work for us for the next 2 or 3 years. The way I look at that, and I share with students, is guess what? You've got a guaranteed job for the next 2 or 3 years. They're going to keep you on staff for the next 2 or 3 years because they need to earn back that investment they made in you through your work hours. So there's a lot of opportunities for other folks to pay for that education for our students. And then the workforce spotlight, we actually put this out here starting in August for our business community to see where the talent pipelines are around the state. But these are all member education organizations that we've highlighted. Each week, every Wednesday, we put a new one up. The next one won't go up till January 6th, I believe, because of the holiday break now. But you can go in here and see what different schools and companies even there. We did Grow with Google because they've got their own IT credentialing that they're bringing to Pennsylvania for free at community colleges and CTE schools. Harrisburg University, I talked about, Shippensburg. We actually have a Western PA member on here, the Challenge Program and the Boys and Girls Club of Western PA, both members, because we're highlighting the workforce development they're doing for their students and then getting in front of the business community. Hey, look, here's schools and organizations that are doing great work, getting students the skills you want. So they have a ready supply of workers for you. So if you have an interest in seeing what's happening around the state, please come on here and check it out. And then Parent Resources has a link to the Micro Work Foundation, the Career Calculator, and then of course there's information on past scholarship recipients success stories on here as well. We're going to be adding this year's recipients in the new year when we come back. We just actually highlighted them in our quarterly news magazine. We had 18 recipients this year who we collectively gave $112,000 to this past year. So it's been a great partnership. So with that, I will wrap, and thank you guys again for hanging out with me today and listening to what I have to say. Hopefully this was inspiring and enlightening. And if you have any questions, please, no such thing as a bad question. I'm excited to answer them.
Thank you so much, Alan, for that. A lot of great information and resources. Is there anyone who has questions? If you do, please feel free to unmute yourself and let us know what they are. If you want to put them in the chat, we'll watch that as well. But please feel free to ask questions at this time.
Oh, and I'm going to put my email in the chat too. So if you want to reach out to me after the fact, please do. If you want a copy of application for the scholarship, if you want to schedule a presentation for your classroom, I'm happy to do that as well. I do have a version of this I do for students. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Jaros. And yep, I do have a version I do for students. So if you'd like to beam me into your classroom, I'm happy to do that, talk to the kids and answer their questions as well. Actually, interesting story. 2 weeks ago, I did a presentation for a local district, a teacher I always present for her personal finance class. And my son was in that class. So he was up in his bedroom attending while I was down in the dining room presenting.
While we're waiting to see if there's any questions, Alan, I was wondering if you could maybe just give a little bit of advice on what you thought maybe is the single biggest thing that educators could be doing right now for their students to get them prepared for future success in a career that they'll be happy in. Is there any extra tips or tricks that you haven't covered yet that maybe you think would be a great
Actually, there's two, and thank you for asking that. You actually just reminded me of a story I was hoping to tell, and I totally forgot. First, no matter what, we talk about technical skills and in-demand jobs. If you look at the details on our economic survey when it comes to employability skills, about 40% of businesses last year, it was 39% actually, said that technical skills was an issue. They can't find people with the right skills to fill these jobs like mechatronics and engineering roles. However, almost 55% said soft skills was an issue. They're having a tough time finding kids who will show up to work on time, take the job seriously, have to be told to put their phone away every 15 minutes. I've had many companies tell me, if I can find a guy or girl who will show up on time, work hard without having to be told to put their phone away every 15 minutes, and stay till the job is done, I'll teach them how to use the equipment. I just need those soft skills. So it's really important we instill in our youth the importance of those soft employability skills, because those are transferable. Even as we're going through this industrial revolution, a lot of companies are upskilling their current employees, because even though they might not have the technical skills to do this job, they've proven they have the employability skills, and the companies don't want to let them go. So they're investing in their future with the company to keep them on staff. So those employability skills are so important. That's what's going to get them a job and keep them a job. The other piece is understanding, and I'm sure everyone on here already does this, but understanding there's multiple pathways to success. And I say that because I have a specific story to tell. Last year, I did a visit to Penn College of Technology. They're a member school. We've promoted them actually quite a few times. One of the students I interacted with, he was a first-year student there, but he was a little older. And I asked him why it took him a while to get here. And he told me a story. He said, I was a fresh air child. He just happened to be a fresh air child in Williamsport area from the Bronx. And he expressed to his guidance counselor at his school what his interest was. What his interest was mechatronics, but he didn't know what that job was. So as he's telling me the story of what he wants to do, he's telling this story to his guidance counselor, actually, in the story he's telling me. The guidance counselor said, but you're so strong academically. You can't just go to a tech school. You need to go to a college. That'd be such, just really talked him out of a career path he wanted to do because he was too smart for that. So now, she recommended all these expensive, high-end schools. And he went that route because that's what he thought he had to do. And then while he was there, he discovered that it wasn't what he wanted to do, found out about trade schools and mechatronics and just threw the way, dropped out and then attended Penn College. But in the meantime, now he's got stuck with 1 year of debt from this expensive school that he didn't have to do. Now, the job he was interested in, had he gone that route initially and been encouraged to, he would have gotten into that, like I showed you, $53,000 a year average starting salary with just 2 years at a tech or trade school. But now he's got 1 year at a really expensive college under his belt that he's got to pay off because he was advised, you're too smart for that job. And I think that's part of the reason we have a skills gap, because there's this stigma attached to, working with your hands, because for so long, we told kids, you're too smart for that. You should go to college. And there's nothing wrong with going to college if that's what the career path you're interested in requires. But we really need to not discourage kids from following their passion and their dreams. Actually, one of the micro scholar stories we have, the young lady, I can't remember her name, but if you go in the success stories, you'll see it. Same thing. She wanted to be a tradesperson, but she was discouraged from doing that by the folks in her life, like her guidance counselors, her educators, and her parents. But she chose to follow her passion. I always tell students, if this is something you're passionate about, find a way to make money at it and don't let anyone talk you out of it. I talked to a girl a few years ago who wanted to be a photographer. One of my neighbors is a Pulitzer, many times, Pulitzer Prize winning photographer here locally for Penn Live. And he loves what he does. And there are career pathways for that. So I would say let's help students pursue their passion and don't talk them out of it because they're too smart for it. So those would be my 2 pieces of advice.
Great, thanks so much. If there isn't anyone that has questions, I know we're just about to our time, and we want to be respectful of that. Everyone has things that they need to do. If we'll give one last chance for any questions, if you want to speak up or put them in the chat. If not, we want to thank all of you for being here today. Hope that you got a lot out of it. I'm sure that you did. Alan, thank you so much for presenting. As you leave, if you want to give any feedback as to what your favorite piece of information is that you learned today, please feel free to drop that in the chat. And again, we'll be on here for a minute or two for questions, but we understand if you have to leave. And thank you so much for being here today. Everyone have a great holiday and a relaxing break.
Yes, thank you so much. 4 more days left after this, right? Or 3 more days?
We're getting close.
Thank you, Mrs. Mallory.
Thank you so much for this presentation. I remember you said that you do student presentations as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be emailing you. I teach 7th grade college and career readiness, 8th grade college and career readiness. My district just started an 11th grade one. So I think this would just be an amazing fit. I'm definitely taking this career calculator and adapting it into our end of the quarter project where they choose a career and do research on it and stuff. So this is just game changing for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'd love to come and talk to your students virtually. That'd be fantastic. And
thank you.
Yeah, middle school, so important. We start this conversation now. One of my favorite TV shows was The Big Bang Theory. Did you ever watch The Big Bang Theory?
Yes.
There was an episode where Sheldon was saying, we've got to get these kids interested in middle school because once they get to 9th grade, it's too late. They already know what they want to do or they've been influenced somehow. So yeah, middle school is a perfect time to talk to these kids about it. And 11th grade. there's no wrong time, but definitely middle school is a great time to start that conversation. And I'd love to be a part of it. I appreciate it.
Great. Oh, look for my email. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I like Mrs. Geyer's image. Stay healthy, helpful, and calm. Very true.
Very good advice. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording